After the tragic shooting in Charleston, South Carolina, of course, a number of pundits wanted to share their analysis of what happened and who is to blame for the shooting. Now, of course, when it comes to conservative commentators, they like to place the blame on the most ridiculous reasons, and Erick Erickson is no exception. In fact, he wrote a blog blaming Caitlyn Jenner for what happened. Now, the beginning of his blog doesn't sound that unreasonable. First, let me give you a snippet that does sound a little unreasonable. He says, online and on left-wing television programs, most every person and idea on the right of center was blamed more than Dylann Roof.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. First of all, that's not true. Everybody blamed Dylann Roof a hell of a lot more than anyone else because he's the one who did the shootings. He made that up. Okay. Right. Second of all, he's obviously defensive here because he knows that that Roof is clearly a right-winger. Right now, he's not. That doesn't mean all right-wingers think like Roof. Of course not. And for example, I said that on the day of. But is he a liberal? Of course not. No, he's a right-winger. So he's like, hey, why are we talking about right-wingers here? Well, he said he got his inspiration from the Council, Dylann Roof did, Council of Conservative Citizens, right? So that's why he's being defensive.
Right. It seems like the rhetoric and just the language overall that's being used by conservatives, believe it or not, has an impact on the way people think and the way people behave. And you're absolutely right, he is being defensive. Now, this second portion, I actually do agree with. He says, we descend into partisan conversations where everything is political and neither side can concede or acknowledge the other's points. Okay, I think that that is actually a fundamental issue when it comes to some of these problems that we discuss, whether it's mass shootings, the issue of racism, cops shooting and killing unarmed people, gun control, all of those things. There's no agreement, it's just partisan politics, and it drives me absolutely insane. People immediately regurgitate their talking points, and there's never any solution.
But of course, Erick Erickson says that when it suits him.
Of course.
When it's an act of terrorism like this was, but done by, let's say, a Muslim, he immediately goes to regurgitating his talking points. Oh my God, we gotta invade! We gotta attack all the goddamn Muslims, global terrorism, global jihad. Why hasn't Obama called it terrorism yet, right? Yeah. So when it suits his purposes, he can't wait for partisan politics. When it doesn't, backpedal, divergence, look away. So how is he gonna get you to look away? This is gonna explain the graphic you're seeing in the background. He's going to bring up Caitlyn Jenner.
How do you bring up Caitlyn Jenner in this case? I don't know. So let me give you his reasoning, his logic or lack thereof. He says, a society that looks at a 65-year-old male Olympian and with a straight face declares him a her and a new normal cannot have a conversation about mental health or evil because that society no longer distinguishes normal from crazy and evil from good. Our American society has a mental illness, overwhelming narcissism and delusion, and so cannot recognize what crazy or evil looks like. It's ironic that he says that in the last part of his statement because he's referring to himself.
Okay, what in the world does Caitlyn Jenner have anything to do with this guy shooting 9 people? I guess the point Erick Erickson is making is, if we can't see that Caitlyn Jenner is what? Evil?
I guess he thinks that she's evil.
Because he said she's the new normal, and a society that cannot distinguish between normal and crazy, evil from good, is a society that leads to this. So since we're calling Caitlyn Jenner normal, meaning that, yeah, she's a human being, that's how she feels, right? He said, well, obviously that leads to mass shootings in churches. No. This whole thing is, as he says at the end, as you pointed to, Anna, it's a delusion. It's a trick. It's like a magician's trick. Oh, whoop, throws it behind you. Look away. Look away. What? Guns? The guns aren't a problem. Racists? No, racists aren't a problem. We told you racism is over, so obviously we can't have racists shooting up 9 people in a black church. We told you guns aren't a problem, so obviously it wasn't the guns. It was Caitlyn Jenner. It was obviously Caitlyn Jenner. If you think she's new normal, well, you can't separate normal from crazy or evil from good, and that's what. But wait a minute. Who's saying that they can't separate Dylann Roof from evil or from good? Is anybody saying I can't? Well, aren't Dylann Roof? I mean, are even conservatives? I'm not even. Who's saying? Yeah. I'm not even saying that conservatives are calling him a good guy. Of course not, right? All the conservatives are coming out and saying, "Oh boy, he's not with us. He's evil." Who can't distinguish between good and evil? We can all distinguish. Dylann Roof, evil. Who thinks he's good? Eric, you know people? Maybe you're some of your political buddies who think he's good. Right. Maybe that's why you guys are having trouble with this issue.
Well, this is his desperate attempt to deflect. Because he is defensive. He does know that in this particular case, the propaganda that's been spewed by some of the news outlets that he goes on actually do seep into society and actually do have an impact on the way people behave. So this is his desperate attempt to make it seem as though he and his goons have absolutely nothing to do with what occurred. But we know what the truth is. And the problem is, whenever it comes to something as serious as a mass shooting, the reason why we never have any change in society is because the people that you're watching on television are part of this group, okay? They're all insane, they lack logic, and this is the starting point. This is how the conversation starts with, oh my God, no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault, no, it's this, no, it's not gun rights, it's because of that. And we're not gonna have a solution. This is gonna keep happening over and over again. That's the most depressing part about it. And as someone who works in media, it's frustrating to know that regardless of how hard you try to change the narrative and focus on what you can do to stop it in the future, you have assholes like this who have real impact in society and don't lead to any solutions. All your work is undone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what we do on the show. It doesn't matter how much evidence we present to the audience. Our audience is intelligent. Our audience knows what's up. But the reality is, this is a huge problem that one media outlet just can't solve.
I guarantee you the next time there's a shooting in America like this, the Erick Ericksons of the world will come out and say, don't talk about politics. In other words, don't talk about solutions. Because the solution is obvious. We have way too many guns in this country. And we have too many people encouraging crazy racists to do crazy stuff. But no. Shh. Don't make it political. Let's talk about Caitlyn Jenner instead, which, by the way, is also political. It's just political in a maniacal way, blaming transgender people for what happened.